Bondi stands, still, arms crossed, her gaze unwavering from Grayson for a single second. Then she speaks, her voice cutting through the silence like a blade. "I don't stand for those who sell justice." Imagine a federal courtroom, the air taut as a bowstring ready to snap, every breath seeming heavier under the cold white lights. Suddenly the doors swing open, and Pam Bondi, the United States Attorney General, strides in, her blonde hair a striking flame, her steely eyes locked on Judge John Grayson, who sits imposingly behind the bench. Bondi isn't just a prosecutor today. She's a whirlwind, poised to sweep everything in her path. She's spearheading the case against Hawk Enterprises, a conglomerate accused of smuggling drugs that have claimed thousands of lives, laundering money to bribe everyone from local cops to high-ranking politicians. This isn't an ordinary trial, it's a battlefield, and this story will leave anyone wondering, who truly holds power in America today? As Grayson bangs his gavel, his voice thunders, "All rise!" A familiar ritual echoing through the room. Everyone, from lawyers to spectators, leaps to their feet like it's second nature. But Bondi doesn't. She stands still, arms crossed, her gaze unwavering from Grayson for a single second. Then she speaks, her voice cutting through the silence like a blade. "I don't stand for those who sell justice." The courtroom erupts. Lawyers whisper in panic, spectators gape, news cameras swivel straight to her. Grayson slams his gavel harder, his face purpling with rage, roaring, "Means, Bondi, you're in contempt of this court." But Bondi doesn't flinch. She fires back, "I'm in contempt of corruption," her tone icy and defiant, a declaration of war without compromise. The courtroom trembles under Bondi's audacity. She's not just challenging Grayson, she's accusing him of being bought by Hawk Enterprises, transforming him from a respected judge into a puppet of crime. In her hand is a murky audio recording, evidence she claims captures Grayson negotiating a bribe from the conglomerate. It's not crystal clear, not something that could instantly convict in a rigid trial, but it's enough to plant seeds of doubt in anyone listening, and the whole world is listening. Bondi's betting everything on this moment, turning the trial into an arena where justice and power collide with ferocity. Think of history's great scandals like Watergate, where a vague suspicion toppled a president. Bondi might be on a similar path, but the stakes are sky high. If she's wrong, if the recording doesn't hold up, her career will crumble to dust. Tension in the courtroom climbs to a fever pitch. Grayson pounds his gavel relentlessly, his voice shaking with fury. "Ms. Bondi, apologize immediately, or I'll have you jailed for disrespect." Cameras zoom in on Bondi's face, calm, unshaken. She steps forward, her heels clicking on the wooden floor like war drums. "Jail me," she says, her voice steady but sharp as a knife. "You don't have that authority, Grayson. I'm the Attorney General, and I'm here to uphold the law. Something you've long forgotten." The crowd holds its breath. Scattered applause breaks out from the gallery, but most murmur in stunned awe at her boldness. Grayson leaps up, pointing at Bondi. "You have no right to accuse me without evidence. I order you to retract that statement now." But Bondi only offers a faint, chilling smile, the kind that likely made her foes in Florida tremble when she was a prosecutor there. "Evidence?" she asks, her tone dripping with defiance. "I have it, and I'll show the world." This moment is a head-on collision that shakes the trial's foundation. Bondi claims immunity from arrest as Attorney General, a legally contentious argument that might shield her from immediate detention, but could bring severe repercussions later if Grayson pushes back hard. But Bondi doesn't care. She's playing a bigger game, and she wants all of America to witness it. Then, the story's rhythm slows, like a bowstring easing after being stretched to its limit. Grayson, pale with rage, slams his gavel one last time and bellows, "Court is adjourned. Will resume when Miss Bondi learns to respect this court." He storms off the bench, leaving Bondi standing there, her eyes fixed on the door he exits through. She whispers to her aide, her voice low but sharp, "If I bow to him, I bow to corruption." The crowd buzzes, cameras capture every second, but beyond their view, another figure watches from afar. In the lavish office of Hawk Enterprises, Victor Hawk, the criminal mastermind behind the empire, sits behind a mahogany desk, fingers tapping rhythmically. With silver-streaked hair and eyes sharp as a raptor's, He smirks as he watches the scene on TV. "She's loud," Hawk says to his assistant, his voice calm yet chilling. "But I've dealt with her kind before." From the courtroom showdown's peak, the story shifts to a suspenseful lull laced with foreboding. Bondi has thrown down the gauntlet, but Hawk isn't one to be easily subdued. Men like Hawk, puppet masters from the shadows, always have a backup plan. In America, scandals like Enron or Jeffrey Epstein prove that power and money can twist even justice itself. Hawk isn't just a CEO, he's a maestro of manipulation, bribing everyone from small-town cops to top-tier politicians. Bondi may have rattled Grayson, but she doesn't yet grasp the hornet's nest she's stirred. The question hangs in the air. What will she do next, and how will Hawk strike back? The story's just beginning, and what's coming will be even more electrifying. The courtroom's chaos hasn't settled after Bondi's bold declaration when Richard Teller, a wiry lawyer for Hawk Enterprises in a gray suit, jumps up, his voice trembling but striving for calm. "Your Honor, this is an unprecedented overreach. Ms. Bondi is turning this trial into a political circus." Teller flings an arm toward Bondi as if to drag the room's focus to her, but Bondi doesn't let him steal the stage. She pivots to face the gallery, her voice ringing like a bell. "The circus is when a judge lets Hawk Enterprises kill thousands without punishment. I won't apologize for the truth." Applause erupts from a corner of the audience, but Grayson won't yield. He looms over the bench, gripping his gavel like he wants to crush it, roaring, "Ms. Bondi, retract that now, or I'll have you dragged out by security." He jabs a finger toward two officers near the door, signaling them forward. The crowd holds its breath as the officers approach, their boots thudding steadily on the wooden floor, each step a heartbeat pounding in the chests of onlookers. Cameras dart between Grayson and Bondi, capturing every tenth second. But just as they near, Bondi raises a hand, her voice steel. "Don't touch me!" She pulls a document from her briefcase, holding it high for all to see. "I have immunity as Attorney General. If you dare jail me, Grayson, I'll launch a federal investigation into you today." The room explodes again, shouts, whispers rippling like waves. Grayson freezes, hands still raised, his face shifting from fury to confusion in a flash. Teller lunges forward, his voice cracking with panic. "This is slander. She can't make accusations without due process." But Bondi turns to him, her gaze a blade. "I don't need process to speak the truth, and I'll prove it at the next session." Tension surges again, pushing the courtroom atmosphere to new heights. Cheers from Bondi's supporters drown out the protests from Hawk's legal team. But Grayson won't go down quietly. He slumps into his chair, hands trembling on the gavel, his voice booming over the din. "Court is adjourned. Will return when order is restored." He slams the gavel one last time, the sharp sound echoing like a warning shot. Bondi doesn't break eye contact, her stare saying, "This isn't over." She turns and strides out from the prosecution table, exiting through the chaotic crowd, cameras trailing her every step. But as the courtroom doors close behind her, the story's pace slows once more, unveiling a pregnant pause full of implication. Inside, Grayson slumps in his seat, clutching the gavel until his knuckles whiten. Bondi's threat, "I won't stop until you're behind bars," strains in his ears. His face, no longer flushed with anger, turns cold and calculating. He knows Bondi isn't bluffing. She has power, determination, and worse, a lead on that damn recording. But Grayson isn't one to surrender easily. He has allies, and it's time to call them in. Far from the courtroom spotlight, in a luxurious office at Hawk Enterprises headquarters, Victor Hawk stands before a massive window, gazing down at the city below. His phone buzzes, and Grayson's hoarse, urgent voice crackles through. "Bondi just turned the trial into a public war. She's got the recording, not clear, but enough to stir trouble. We need to act now." Hawk isn't surprised. He straightens, his piercing eyes reflecting the city lights. "I see," he says, his tone calm but laced with menace. "She thinks she's untouchable. But everyone has a weakness, Grayson. We just need to find hers." Hawk hangs up, turning back to the TV screen replaying Bondi's exit from the courtroom. A slow smile creeps across his lips. "You want war, Bondi?" he mutters. "I'll show you what war really looks like." Night falls, and Pam Bondi drives home after a long day at the Justice Department. The car radio blares heated debates. Bondi versus Grayson, justice or overreach. but she switches it off, focusing on the quiet road ahead. She knows Grayson and Hawk Enterprises won't sit idly by after her public blow in court. The recording she mentioned has them spooked, though it's not sharp enough to present to a judge yet. But Bondi doesn't expect their counterstrike to come so fast, or to hit so personally. As she turns into the silent street where she lives, her headlights sweep across dark rows of trees. She parks in front of her modest but sturdy townhouse on Washington's outskirts, stepping out with her briefcase, then freezes. A white envelope juts from the mail slot in her front door. No stamp, no address. Her brow furrows. With the instincts of a prosecutor who's faced down criminals, she cautiously opens the door, scanning her surroundings before picking it up. Inside is a single sheet, scrawled with jagged handwriting, "Back off or die." Attached are two photos, one of Bondi stepping out of her car, another a distant shot of her family, clearly taken by a stalker. Her heart pounds, but her face stays calm. This isn't her first threat. In Florida, she got anonymous letters from drug cartels. But this feels different. This is Hawk Enterprises, and she knows Victor Hawk is behind it. She tucks the note into her pocket, steps inside, locks the door, and dials the FBI. "I need a team at my house now," she says, her voice steady but firm. "Someone just sent a warning." Within 20 minutes, a black SUV pulls up. Special Agent Sarah Klain, a wiry, sharp investigator Bondi has trusted since her early days in Washington, enters with two other agents. Sarah glances at the envelope on the kitchen table, then up at Bondi. "They're playing dirty," she says, her voice low. "This has Hawk's fingerprints all over it. He loves these kinds of messages." Bondi nods, sitting down, hands clasped. "I know, Grayson panicked in court and Hawk wants me scared. They picked the wrong target." Sarah picks up the photo, studying it. "Taken 3 days ago. They've been watching you. I'll have the team check for prints, but Hawk's not sloppy. There won't be anything." Bondi smirks faintly. "I don't need prints to know who's behind it. This is retaliation for mentioning the recording." Tension ramps up again, the air in Bondi's small home growing stifling. Sarah frowns, setting the photo down. That tape isn't enough to take Grayson down yet. Without more evidence, they'll crush this case in court. Bondi stands, staring out the window into the dark. Then we dig deeper. "Grayson, Hawk, all of them." She turns back, her voice cutting like a blade. "I want your team on Grayson's every move. Accounts, phones, everything. Hawk doesn't work alone, and Grayson's the weak link. Break him, and Hawk's whole system collapses." Sarah nods, but her eyes betray worry. "You sure? They're targeting your family. This isn't just about the courtroom anymore." Bondi meets her gaze, unflinching. "My family's not nearby. They just want me rattled. But I never back down." The drama peaks right after. That night, Bondi doesn't sleep. She sits in her living room, dim light spilling over the stack of Hawk Enterprises files she brought home. The recording, Grayson's voice discussing the payoff, is her ace, but it's not strong enough yet. She needs clearer proof, and she knows Hawk won't stop at a threat. Sure enough, the next morning, a major news network invites her for a live interview. Bondi agrees instantly. If Hawk wants to play the media game, she'll play it her way. On camera, she appears in a navy suit, hair neatly tied back, eyes fearless. "Yesterday I challenged Judge Grayson because I believe he's shielding Hawk Enterprises, a group killing people with drugs," she says, her voice resonating through the mic. "Today, I got threats against my family, but I have a message for Hawk and Grayson. I don't fear those hiding in the shadows or standing in court. The truth will come out. Cameras catch every word, viewers at home riveted by her resolve." But the pace slows again, revealing a deeper conspiracy. At Hawk Enterprises headquarters, Victor Hawk watches the broadcast, his grip cracking the glass in his hand. "She doesn't know when to stop," he growls to his assistant, a short man with nervous eyes. "I said no killing, just scare her." The assistant nods frantically. "The shooter followed orders, sir. But she's not scared. She's stronger on TV." Hawk slams the table, standing. "Then we hit what she can't ignore, her attorney general seat." He summons 2 opposition politicians in Congress. Puppets he's controlled for years. The meeting happens via video, their faces flickering on a large screen in a sealed room. "Bondi just made Grayson a public traitor," Hawk says, his voice low but menacing. If she keeps going, our whole system falls. I need Congress to investigate, take her down. A silver-haired politician grins wickedly. Easy, she's suspended Grayson without process. That's abuse of power. We'll drag her to a hearing now. Hours later, Congress announces an emergency hearing against Bondi for legal violations in the Grayson case. The news spreads like wildfire, Hawks media amplifying it. Headlines blare, Bondi oversteps, threatens justice. But Bondi doesn't sit still. At the Justice Department, she calls an urgent meeting with Sarah Clean and her team. Bullet marks still scar her car, but she brushes them off. Hawk thinks guns and Congress will make me back off, she says, her voice iron. They're wrong. She looks at Sarah. What do we have on Grayson? Sarah slides a file across the table. We traced an offshore account, $500,000 from Hawk Enterprises, just like the recording, but it's heavily encrypted, needs time to crack. Bondi nods. No time. Congress wants me in a hearing. I'll turn it into an opportunity. She stands facing her team. Hawk's hitting me outside court because he's scared. He knows we're close to the truth. I want every Hawk Enterprises transaction, banks, emails, everything. If Congress wants me to show up, I'll bring evidence with me. The federal courtroom fills again as Pam Bondi enters, the air thick as a storm brews. After the personal threats and her defiant TV statement, the nation's eyes are glued to her. Today's a pivotal session in the Hawk Enterprises case. The trial Bondi aims to make a knockout blow against Grayson and the criminal empire backing him. Live TV cameras pan the room, spectators whisper, and Hawk's lawyers sit tense at their table on the right. Grayson on the bench tries to project authority, but his grip on the gavel tightens, his eyes flickering with unease. Bondi, as the Justice Department's lead prosecutor, stands before the counsel table, her navy suit accentuating her resolute stance. She locks eyes with Grayson, unblinking. Today, we try Hawk Enterprises for drug smuggling and bribery, she begins, her voice booming. But I'm also here to expose a greater truth. A judge who's betrayed justice. Murmurs ripple through the crowd like waves. Grayson bangs his gavel, his voice hissing. Ms. Bondi, I've warned you about baseless accusations. But his voice wavers, a tell Bondi doesn't miss. She smirks faintly, stepping forward. Baseless? We'll see. She turns to the court clerk, her tone iron. I request to submit additional evidence. Richard Teller, Hawk's lawyer, leaps up, his voice shrill. Your Honor, this is improper. Ms. Bondi can't introduce unannounced evidence. Grayson nods, his tone frigid. I agree. Your request is denied, Ms. Bondi. But Bondi doesn't retreat. She pulls a small USB from her briefcase, holding it aloft for all to see. This isn't just evidence against Hawk Enterprises. It's against you, Grayson. The courtroom detonates like a bomb. Spectators shout. Cameras zoom in on Bondi and Grayson, who pounds his gavel, face crimson. Enough! I won't let you turn this court into a circus. But Bondi presses on. She faces the gallery, her voice steel. I have a recording of Grayson taking money from Victor Hawk to protect Hawk Enterprises. And today, the world will hear it. Before Grayson can react, Bondi hands the USB to Sarah Clean, her loyal FBI agent, who's investigated alongside her. Sarah plugs it into the court's projector, ignoring Hawk's team's yells. Static crackles through the speakers, then Grayson's voice comes through clear as day. Hawk wired $500,000 to an offshore account. I'll make sure the case doesn't go far. Next, Victor Hawk's low, cold voice. Good, keep Bondi quiet, whatever it takes. The room plunges into pandemonium. Spectators jump up, some yelling, corruption! Hawk's lawyers rush the projector to stop it. But Sarah blocks them, hand on her holster as a warning. Bondi stands amid the storm, her gaze locked on Grayson. Anything to say, she asks, her voice ice cold. Grayson trembles, pointing at Bondi. This is fabricated. You can't play this without verification. But his voice breaks, and the crowd no longer buys it. Whistles ring out. A spectator hurls a water bottle at the bench, narrowly missing Grayson's head. He screams at security, "Arrest her now! Miss Bondi's gone too far!" Two officers advance, but Bondi raises a hand, her voice thundering, "Don't touch me!" As Attorney General, I suspend Judge Grayson's authority under Federal Statute 18 for suspected corruption. The courtroom turns frenzied. Grayson roars, You don't have that power, but Bondi cuts him off. I have every power when a judge threatens justice. The FBI takes over now. She turns to Sarah, her orders sharp. Get him out. Sarah nods, leading 3 agents charging the bench. Grayson staggers back, yelling, You can't do this, I'm a federal judge! But the agents don't hesitate. They grab him, dragging him down, his arms flailing uselessly, black robe flapping like a broken wing. Cameras capture Grayson being hauled from the courtroom, his face ashen, mouth babbling nonsense. Bondi stands in the center, her eyes tracking the door where Grayson vanishes. Teller rushes forward, voice quaking. This is a legal violation, we'll sue you. Bondi turns to him, calm but cutting. Go ahead. But I'd worry about your client first. Victor Hawk isn't escaping this. Teller steps back, pale, knowing Bondi isn't bluffing. Tension hits its zenith, but the story's rhythm eases as twilight fades outside the courthouse. Bondi exits the courtroom, camera clicks, and crowd noise echoing behind her. She's just landed a decisive blow, playing the recording, toppling Grayson before the public's eyes. But a seasoned prosecutor's instinct nags at her. As she nears the waiting SUV, a bad feeling creeps in. She glances around, seeing only the crowd and flashing lights. Then, a deafening crack splits the air. The crowd screams, scattering as a bullet grazes the car door, shattering the windshield into a spiderweb. Bondi ducks instinctively, pulling Sarah Clane down with her. Get down! She yells. A second shot rings out, hitting the car's side, smoke and dust billowing. An FBI agent inside draws his gun, shouting into his radio, Ambush! Call backup now! The crowd flees, cameras capturing the smoky chaos. Bondi rises, eyes sharp amid the danger. Hawk, she whispers. This isn't random, it's retaliation. The FBI seals the area within minutes, but the shooter vanishes into the crowd. Bondi stands, brushing dust off her suit, rejecting Sarah's plea to find safety. I don't run, she says, her voice firm. They want me afraid. They don't know who I am. Sarah frowns, scanning the scene with other agents. This was a pro. No casings, no trace. Hawk sending a message. Bondi nods, her eyes darkening. Message received. But I'll hit back twice as hard. News of the attack spreads like wildfire, live broadcasts showing Bondi calm amid the chaos. Headlines screaming Attorney General attacked outside court. The public splits. Some hail her as an unyielding hero. But Hawk's media accuses her of endangering citizens with her courtroom stunts. The pace quickens again as Victor Hawk refuses to relent. At Hawk Enterprises headquarters, he sits in his office, eyes icy on the TV screen. The cracked glass from Bondi's recording reveal is replaced, but his grip remains tight. She survived, he snarls to his assistant. I said no killing, just scare her. The assistant nods rapidly. The shooter followed orders, sir. But she's not scared. Hawk slams the desk. Bullets won't break her, so we'll take her power. He calls 2 congressional allies via video. Bondi just made Grayson a public villain, Hawk says, his voice low and sharp. I need Congress to haul her into a hearing, strip her title. A politician smirks wickedly. She's suspended Grayson without process. That's abuse. We'll move now. The drama peaks again as Congress announces an urgent hearing targeting Bondi. But she doesn't waver. At the Justice Department, she holds an emergency meeting with Sarah and her team. They think Congress will bring me down, she says, her voice steel. But I'll turn it into a weapon. Sarah slides a file over. We found another transaction. $2 million from Hawk Enterprises to a Swiss account right after the shooting. Could be payment for the sniper? Bondi nods. Good. Package it with the recording. I'll take it all to Congress. She stands, eyes cold. Hawk thinks I'll fall? He'll regret crossing me. The atmosphere in the congressional hearing room is heavy as war looms. Lawmakers line the rows, eyes fixed on Pam Bondi as she enters, unflinched despite surviving the shooting and facing Hawk's plot to unseat her. Live cameras beam across America, viewers holding their breath, as Bondi sets her briefcase on the table, facing politicians, many bought by Victor Hawk long ago. The hearing's chair, Senator Carl Hensley, a silver-haired man with a sinister smile, raps his gavel, his voice booming. Miss Bondi? You're accused of abusing power by suspending Judge Grayson without process. What's your defense? Bondi stands tall, her gaze slicing through the air. "I'm not here to defend," she says, her voice iron. "I'm here to expose the truth this Congress is trying to bury." Murmurs sweep the room, lawmakers exchanging nervous glances. Hensley bangs his gavel, roaring, "Ms. Bondi, this isn't the place for baseless accusations." But Bondi doesn't back down. She pulls the USB from her briefcase, raising it like a sword. "This is proof. Grayson took $500,000 from Hawk Enterprises to bury the drug case, and another $2 million was wired after the shooting aimed at me yesterday." She turns to the spectators and cameras, her voice resounding. "Hawk Enterprises didn't just buy Grayson, they bought people in this room." The chamber erupts. Some lawmakers shout denials, but jeers from the gallery drown them out. "Justice for Bondi!" Hensley hammers his gavel, face flushed. "You can't slander Congress. Show evidence now, or I'll have you removed." Tension soars to its peak. Bondi nods to Sarah Clean, standing behind with files. Sarah steps up, placing a player on the table and hitting play. Grayson's voice rings out. "Hawk wired $500,000. I'll keep the case contained." Then Hawk's chilling tone, "Keep Bondi quiet, whatever it takes." The room's noise turns chaotic, but Bondi isn't done. She holds up bank records, her voice razor sharp. "Here's the transaction. $2 million from Hawk Enterprises to a Swiss account timed with a sniper attack on me. And I have a list. 3 senators in this room took Hawk's money to oust me today." She points at Hensley and 2 others, her voice thunder. "Hensley, Baxter, and Klein, you sold your souls to Hawk Enterprises." The hearing room shakes like a grenade's gone off. Hensley leaps up, face purple. "This is a lie! I demand security remove her!" But the gallery roars louder, overpowering him. "Corruption!" Some lawmakers try to restore order, but their eyes betray panic. Sarah steps forward, hand on her holster, shielding Bondi as 2 guards approach. Bondi raises a hand, her voice steady. "Don't touch me. I'm the Attorney General, and I demand an immediate FBI probe into these 3 senators and Hawk Enterprises." Cameras catch every second, viewers at home breathless, as Bondi turns the hearing into a direct assault on Hawk's power core. Hensley yells, "You have no authority!" But Bondi cuts him off. "I have evidence. That's my authority." The climax explodes as Hensley's gavel loses control of the room. Suddenly, a young senator, not on Bondi's list, stands, voice shaky but firm. "I've seen enough. If Miss Bondi has proof, we must investigate." Applause thunders from the gallery, support surging through the chamber. Hensley slumps, hands trembling, knowing he's lost the reins. Bondi stands amid the tempest, her gaze unflinching from her foes. After an hour of fierce debate, Congress votes. Bondi keeps her Attorney General seat by a landslide, and a federal investigation into Hawk Enterprises and their political allies is greenlit on the spot. Cameras capture Bondi leaving the chamber, the crowd outside cheering, waving signs. Bondi, guardian of justice. But the story's rhythm slows, unveiling a victory tinged with unease. Hours later, the FBI raids Hawk Enterprises headquarters, arresting Victor Hawk in his office. Live TV shows Hawk in cuffs, his face a mask of ice as he's led to a car. He stares into the lens, eyes sharp as knives, as if sending a final message. This isn't over. At the federal courthouse, Grayson gets 20 years for bribery and obstruction, while Hawk draws life for drug trafficking, conspiracy to murder, and rigging the political system. Hawk Enterprises' assets are seized, dozens of associates nabbed. News trumpets Bondi's triumph across America. She's dismantled a criminal empire and scrubbed a piece of the legal system clean. But back at her Justice Department office, a white, unstamped envelope sits on her desk, identical to the one before. Inside, a brief note. Hawk was just the start. A chill runs through Bondi, but she keeps it off her face. She slips the note into a drawer, her gaze cold out the window. She knows Hawk Enterprises isn't alone. Groups like it are hydras. Cut off one head and another grows. The public sees her as an icon. Crowds gather outside the Justice Department chanting her name, hoisting banners praising her grit. National TV dubs her the woman who changed justice, likening her to anti-corruption legends like Elliot Ness or the Watergate reporters. But Bondi doesn't bask in glory. She sits, reopening the Hawk Enterprises files, whispering, "Today's win isn't the end. It's the start of a bigger fight." Tension climbs again as breaking news airs. An anonymous witness sent the FBI a new video, a faint voice ordering keep the plan going even after Hawk's arrest. Bondi watches it in her office, pen gripped tight, knowing this criminal web runs deeper than she thought. Hawk may be down, but others lurk in the shadows, ready to carry on his legacy. She calls Sarah Klenn, her voice sharp. "We're not done. Trace that video's source, no matter how long it takes." Sarah nods over the phone. "Who do you think it is?" Bondi stares out the window, eyes darkening. "I don't know. But I'll find out, and I'll make them regret crossing me." The story pauses at a suspenseful peak. Bondi stands by her window, her silhouette etched against Washington's night lights. She's beaten Grayson, felled Hawk, and survived Congress. But the cost is an endless war. The public exalts her, but she knows the truth. Each victory is a stepping stone to the next battle. Bondi's tale mirrors America today. Scandals like Epstein or political lobbying plots show power always fights to protect itself. But Bondi doesn't retreat. She's proof that courage and evidence can shift the system, if you don't give up. The note on her desk is a warning, but also a challenge. Hawk's gone, but who's next? And if you've stuck with us to this gripping end, don't forget to hit that subscribe button right now. We'll keep bringing you thrilling stories, uncovered secrets, and unrelenting battles like this one. Drop a comment below. Who do you think is behind this next conspiracy? Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming, because Bondi's story isn't over, and the twists ahead will leave you stunned.